So before waiting any longer, I'm just moving to the, sorry, up. To announce the breakout session. So the general topic is this one: how to enhance the interactions between work packages and between product profiles. And we decided to have 4 different rooms, as we have mentioned already. And we asked the moderators to address 2 or 3 questions in each room. So these questions will be introduced by the moderators at the beginning of the session. Then these 2 or 3 questions will be addressed collectively during 1 hour. So the session will last 1 hour. And we kindly ask one of the moderators to wrap up the different outputs, meeting and session outputs, and to present these main findings or main outputs in plenary during 5 minutes after tea break. We also kindly ask the moderators to appoint 1 or 2 note takers per room. So if you volunteer, it would be even easier for them. But if nobody volunteers, unfortunately, they will have to appoint 1 or 2 note takers, because these meeting minutes will be shared, are expected to be shared with Vincent Johnson, who is compiling the minutes from the whole meeting and will be writing the annual meeting report. So please join the breakout room you've been assigned to. You received an email just an hour ago mentioning where you can find the attribution list. It's online. And as soon as we open the different rooms, you will be able to join clicking on the breakout room button at the bottom of your screen on the Zoom window. And that's it for now. We are pasting the link to access the different rooms. I mean, to access the list of participants per room in the chat box, so that if you didn't have time already to go and have a look at the room assignment, you will find it in the Zoom chat box. And we are now opening the rooms, and you have 1 hour to discuss and address the questions facilitated by the 2 moderators. So have a nice session, everybody.
This is a sabotage.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, le sabotage. This is a sabotage.
C'est ça le sabotage, quoi.
Always the same.
What did you do?
Time's always running.
Always the same.
When the boss is speaking, you cut the boss. The boss was speaking.
Oh, sorry.
Can we still
Apologies.
Can we still have the chats from the breakout rooms? Because
the chat will be available on your recording.
Okay.
It's only one for everybody. The same chat.
It's the same. Yes, we'll share. I think we'll share. We'll extract and clean and share with everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, there is only one chat.
En fait, Eglantine, on the chat there was some question that we need to make the conclusion. So,
okay,
and that was specific on each group, in each group.
Yes.
So
okay.
Do you know how we can?
Yes, I will explain. Once you receive the recording, it's in the Zoom folder that the person who is recording will receive on her desktop or his desktop.
Okay. Okay.
It's a .txt document. It's not a doc. It's not a Word document. It is TXT. So welcome back, everybody, in plenary. If you need help to find the minutes, I mean the chat box, please feel free to contact me or Cathy. We'll help you to access these. Okay. I copied the link to access the meeting assessment form. So here is my screen. I'm sharing my screen, but if you click on the link in the chat box, you should be able to access the same form. So I'm just waiting. Everybody's joining. You enter your name or nickname or whatever. I'm just waiting 1 minute and okay, I'm starting the first question. So here you can click on the first question on your screen. I'm stop sharing mine now. I hope everybody can access. No? So if you have a look at my screen, but we will share the screenshot afterwards. The main word is informative, excellent, insightful, resourceful, educative, great, interactive, interesting. So all positive words. So thanks a lot. It means that it was a positive event, a positive experience. Oh, sorry. Here is my screen. So that's the results, but we'll share it. So few words, but let's go to the next question then.
Bon, allons-y donc. Je suis perdu, moi.
Okay. Step 2. Do you see the question? So last step of the evaluation form, we will resend this link to everybody so that for those who are not connected today, they will have the opportunity to provide the answers. So please take time to answer, and then we meet for the results of the photo competition awards. So while some of you are still completing the form, the assessment form, we won't share the results for now because I'm not closing the assessment, the poll. I will be sharing this poll with all colleagues by email as well, for those who could not join today, unfortunately. But we'll start now with so that we are not too late. We'll announce the winners of the photo competition, of the photo challenge. So as a reminder, we received 146 photos submitted from 4 continents. We had more than 130 voters, and we'll have 9 winners, 3 per categories. So for the in the field category, the winners are Serge Kwasi and Catherine Eba from CNRA Côte d'Ivoire, Paula Iragaba from NACRI, and Eric Malézieux from CIRAD. So congratulations for these beautiful pictures you have on your screen. So plantain harvests, cassava harvests, and yam plantations or yam harvest. No, I think it's plantation. Congratulations, Serge, Catherine, Paula, Eric. For the people and market section, Patricio Mendes del Villar, Régis Pelletier, both of them from CIRAD, and Yan Lo from SIP are the 3 winners. With one picture from Côte d'Ivoire, cassava in Côte d'Ivoire, another one on fried sweet potato, yes, fried sweet potato from Yan Lo, and another one on the cooking banana in Timor, Asia. Congratulations to the 3 of them. For the ready-to-eat section, the winner is Dominique Dufour. So 2 of these pictures were Dominique's, but Dominique decided to step back and to allow 2 more persons to be winners in this category. So thanks, Dominique. Congratulations for these very kind and beautiful pictures. And the winners are Guy Trébuil from CIRAD, Aurélie Bischoff from NRI, and Paula Iragaba again from NACRI. So congratulations for these nice pictures. Here it's cassava steaming, here fried plantain, and here we have also plantain. Congratulations. And here are the prizes. So all of you, so the 9 of you, will receive a puzzle and a poster of your picture. So congratulations again, and we'll be in touch with you to get the information to send you these prizes. Again, thanks to all persons who participate, who sent the pictures, who voted for the challenge. Thank you. If you you wish to have just a short break, you can, but I think we should continue because we are a bit late due to also the logistical problems that we faced during the breakout session. So we will start now with the 5-minute restitution per room. So I'm asking probably the first group, the boiled product room, to open their camera and their mic. I don't know who's volunteering to make the synthesis, Thierry or Ruben. Thierry, Ruben, are you online?
I thought we would have the tea break to synthesize the notes before talking.
Yes, we don't have time for tea break. Otherwise, we'll have to. We won't have time to listen to the advisory committee, unfortunately. But do you want us to start with another group if you really are not ready?
It depends on Ruben. What do you think?
Ruben?
We can start with another group. We can start with another group and get back.
Okay, please, another group volunteers. Who's volunteering to start first?
Hello, Eglantine. This is the group on consumer testing and sensory evaluation.
Yes, please, Aurélie.
I'm happy to volunteer. So it's a bit of a quick preparation. So if would I be able to share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll try to see whether this works. I hope it's the right one. Is this working?
Yes.
Okay, so our workshop was about linkages between work package 1 and work package 2. How can we link consumer testing and hedonic testing with sensory evaluation? So this was the question. So what we were aiming at is identify ideal sensory profiling for each product and for different consumer classes as well. And we also, the ultimate aim is also to identify limits for each of the attributes. And so how could we do that? So in work package 1, so we've got methodologies related to hedonic testing, so the overall liking. We also have the jar test and the kata test. On the other hand, in WP2, so we have people have conducted sensory profiling to look at intensity of the different attributes. And also they're looking at texture of those attributes, so linking sensory with textural parameters, and also with physical, biochemical parameters. So our two questions were the following. So which strategies, methods can we adopt to identify the ideal sensory characteristics of products, and how could we look at a threshold targeted level? And another question is how to overcome the existing limitations and constraints with regards to reaching this ideal sensory characteristics and targeted levels. And so Christophe gave some different examples. So you can see in yellow, this is the hedonic testing that tells us whether consumers like or not the product. So this is on a scale from 1, which is the worst, to 9, which means that people like the product very much. And then in blue, you have the QDI test, which is looking at the intensity of different attributes. So how could we link both? There's another example. So this is linking the jar test with the QDA. So I'm not going to go in details, but we've looked at different examples. Some cases it works very well, where we've got good correlation, and other cases it's more complicated. So what are the challenges? So in those two work packages, sometimes the cultivars assessed are not the same, so it's difficult to link. You know, if you've got different varieties in WAP1 and different varieties in WP2, it's difficult to make correlations, obviously. Sometimes there is not a lot of contrast in terms of acceptability, so this also makes it a bit difficult. And then the processing aspect, so the products were not evaluated for hedonic testing in the same time as for sensory testing with the panel. So sometimes the processing is not exactly the same. So maybe on one hand, products may be overcooked, on the other hand, they are not cooked enough. So we don't end up with the same products, so it's difficult to correlate them. And lastly, we found that there were not enough varieties tested in consumer testing in WP1. So if we haven't got enough varieties, it's not easy to make a strict correlation with only 4 varieties, for instance. And sometimes also the attributes, so the in WP1 and WP2 were not the same. So again, this is a hurdle. So the recommendations, so we've discussed a lot about the different challenges of linking those two work packages. And but we suggest, Christophe, myself, Isabel, and we need to look at detail. So because each case might be different, so working more in depth on the data. There was also a suggestion from Suzanne. I think we said we need also to look at, for instance, different segments of consumers. Another point is consider the challenge of the difference in processing between the WP1 and WP2. And then there was a comment from Laurent, who's saying that for hedonic, so in linking hedonic and sensory testing, they were using the kata, and for the linking the sensory testing with physical chemical analysis, they were using the QDA. So by using a kata and comparing with the QDA, we could also get further insight into linking those two work packages. Okay, so that's it. I don't know if Christophe wants to add anything.
Yes. Thank you very much, Aurélie. I just want to say that this workshop highlighted the difficulties of linking sensory data between the PPU and the P2, and the question were relevant from this workshop, and not always easy to answer. In conclusion, it deserves new meetings, perhaps between us, sensory specialists, to better explore the different tracks to reach the objective. Is what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Christophe. Thank you, Aurélie. Good. So it's up to you now to set up meetings with the relevant partners, Work Package 1 and Work Package 2 partners to facilitate these activities. Thanks to both of you. Do not hesitate. Who was actually writing the minutes of this meeting? Christophe, Aurélie?
I think we had someone called Lisa.
Okay, Lisa. Okay. So Lisa, we are expecting to receive the minutes from your hands. Thank you.
Should I email them to you, Eglantine?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay,
that's good.
Thank you.
Great. And also to Christophe and Aurelia as well, for sure. Dough products. Ismaël Bolanlé, who's speaking?
Can you still give us some minutes, please?
Okay. So
Okay.
let's try with the gender mainstreaming group. Bella,
Yeah.
Tessie. Bella, Tessie, are you with us?
I'm there. I said
Okay.
I'm typing something, but I've not finished, or I have to just do it orally.
I don't know. Let's see with the bold product. Thierry Ruben.
Can we speak orally?
Yes, you can speak orally for sure. You don't have to share your screen. It's up to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thierry, ready?
Okay, for bold products, we are ready. Yes.
Good. Let's go then. Thank you.
Okay. I'll try to share my screen. Which one? This one. Okay.
Okay, we can see it.
Okay. Yeah, so for bold product, we focus the discussion on identifying or listing the different sensory attributes that were identified through WP1 activities and then transferred to WP2. And then among those priority attributes for the 5 types of bold products, we highlighted the ones that were common to the different products. So in particular, attributes related to the texture and the firmness, or its opposite, the softness. Another attribute related to texture is mealiness or crumbiness that we find in different products. Then the sweet taste was also one of those attributes, and then the color was also important for different traits. Then we looked at how the sensory traits were translated into phenotyping by laboratory analysis or lab-based methods. So for most of the products, there were some SOPs in place for texture measurement, either by texturometer or penetrometer. And also for colors. So there are some protocols in place for measurement of colors among the different products. Although with different priorities. For sweet potato, plantain, yam, the color seems to be an important criteria. In the case of boiled cassava, it is we assess it, but it's less important in terms of perception, consumer perceptions. One question was, okay, we measure similar traits using similar equipment, so texturometer, penetrometer. However, because of the differences between the products, we cannot use the same SOPs. That was the second main discussion. We have to adapt the SOPs, so in terms of distance of compression, speed of compression to the different products. We found also some gaps. So some traits are quite well assessed. We have SOPs that have been tested. For example, the hardness, the softness, color. Other traits which are important from a sensory perception point of view, such as mealiness. We don't have a method yet across the products to assess or to describe quantitatively the mealiness of products. So this is one gap or something we can try to address in period 4. to further develop methods to better link sensory with biophysical measurements. And then the last part of the discussion was about the action points for the coming year. So, of course, all products should continue implementing their work plan in period 4. From the discussion, in the case of boiled products, the sensory and biophysical analysis are fairly well advanced. Most of the SOPs are in place, and we already have generated some data, and we continue to do so in this year. In terms of NIRS calibration, to move to high throughput phenotyping, this is where the challenge is. We start to have some calibrations, but we need to expand this to more products. Boiled cassava was fairly advanced. Boiled yam as well is working, but it would be good to develop this for more products. And another big action point is more formatting of the data sets according to the standard of Gridbase to prepare the uploads of those data to Gridbase so they remain available beyond the end of the project. Okay, quite shortly the summary of our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Thierry. Thank you, Ruben, for facilitating this discussion. And thank you for the effort of listing common traits across boiled products, boiled RTB products, and also for highlighting the opportunities for further increasing the sharing of protocols and methods for phenotyping these type of products, It's not only important to save time and energy, but also to allow comparisons between centers, between partners working on the same product or on boiled product at least. So thank you very much. Who was the minute taker? The note taker?
We asked Edwin.
Edwin, okay. So Edwin, please share the minutes with me and with Thierry and Ruben as soon as possible. Thank you. Thank you to the three of you. Let's move to the, I don't know, dough product group. Are you ready? Bolanlé? Bolanlé, are you ready to present on behalf of your group?
Just 3 minutes. Okay. Let me just present. We will have the Word document. I'll just share the Word document, the recommendation. Can you just give us maybe 2 minutes, please? Since
Bella.
we still have one other group, let the other group present, please. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Bella?
okay, I can go. I'm not ready, but I will talk it through. Can I share my? I'll share my screen. Share. Are you seeing something?
Yes, it's coming. Yes. Okay, good.
This is gender means. You see, yeah, okay. Yeah, we had a very productive discussion, I find. Only we have to summarize the insights a little bit better. This is done in a hurry, and I was doing something else again. So we really, given the results of the gender mainstreaming results, of the research results on gender, we really saw that women were identified as major stakeholders in the whole breeding operation, and that because they are so much involved in processing work, in marketing work, they are much overrepresented. And we concluded, especially that for the traits, at least, that there are specific traits that really should be addressed and monitored over the whole project. That any improvement of crops, that it at least should not reduce processing time and drudgery in the field related to leaf retention or multi-purpose use of crop different food products. These were things that came out of the research that were essential to look at. And from there on, we also agreed on a more institutional addition of gender. So it's not only about talking instrumental about traits, what kind of traits are important for women, and then we can address those. Although that's in the mechanism of the whole project, that is what we can do. We really have to assure that indeed the traits that are important for women, as they are listed here, are incorporated. But that's not the whole picture, because we can hammer on that and we can promote it, but will it actually be done? And if it really gets done and gets the best results, is dependent on the whole breeding, how breeding is set up, how colleagues interact with each other, how is dealt with partnerships with processes and feedback loops. And there should be probably much more attention given to that, about the social institution of breeding and the CGIAR in general. Actually, what kind of perspectives are behind the whole institution? Like, change of the CGIAR is a lot about replacing a popular variety and then replacing it with one very good one and then scaling that. And there's a lot of in our discussion we had a lot of critique on that it should be more about multiple varieties and multiple environments and not pushing for one variety. So there's almost a kind of decentralization sentiment. So that was the main messages. So how can we institutionalize that we incorporate those traits that would make it much more difficult for women to process, which will also result into misadoption, and the institutional thing, which is much more about emancipation of standpoints and voices of people within the whole teleological breeding. The objective of breeding should be maybe revised. And then it's not so. This is also referring to that. So I was not finished, but there are another quite good issues coming up. So the practical considerations about how gender can be operationalized within the project are really like the traits related aspects. But then how can we maybe design with Work Package 1, Work Package 5, think about how Work Package 5 can not only be a thing in the end, which is also now becoming also not only an evaluation in the end, because we have a lot of clones that people want to test and that are not the result of the insight of the RTBfoods project. But so the Work Package 5 and Work Package 1, can they design something together that can address a better exchange and cooperation between women stakeholders and breeders? So that goes further than just the instrumental idea. We will get all the traits that women need, and we make sure we incorporate them, which is from a mechanical standpoint and is a very good insight. But the way that it's done, the way are we cooperating enough with these stakeholders, and how does it relate to Work Package 5 work? Can Work Package 5 work become a little bit more focused on kind of participatory breeding? That means that we have to include more clones, and then that users get more user feedback on those varieties, and especially relating them to the local clones that are best for them. and elicit even more things in a more almost tacit way than always trying to pinpoint on just having a tool to elicit the traits and then work with that. So that are things that came up. So that gender is more than only instruments to target and collect data that can inform traits involvement in traits inclusion in breeding programs. Thank you. I think maybe there's maybe Tessie or Helly can add something to that again to make it more complete.
Tessie, Halle, do you want to add something to Bella's? No? I guess no. So thank you, Bella, and I'm glad to see, to hear you saying that the discussion was productive, and that you also addressed how RTBfoods Work Package 5 could help inform where and how future breeding efforts could make sense, actually, to reduce to target women, to reduce drudgery, and target the traits that help to reduce disparities between men and women in RTB processing and preparation, and farming as well, for sure. So thanks again to the group. Who was the note taker for the group?
Okay.
Olamide.
Okay. Thank you. So Alamide, please send me the minutes, and to Bella and Tessie as well.
So
thank you.
Okay, Iglanta.
Yes, please, you have the floor.
Please, can you let me share the screen here?
Sure, you can. You're allowed to.
Is it there?
It's there, not in slide mode, but it's there.
Oh.
But it's okay, we can see for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Group was on dairy products, and the questions discussed were, is it possible to assess limited number of genotypes for quality of dough products? That how can we and who in RTBfood is responsible for synthesizing the findings from WP1 to WP2 to distill the minimum number of traits that are of highest priority? The second question is that to have a high throughput phenotyping protocol for quality traits, there needs to be a trade-off between accuracy and speed. How can we as a group, breeders, gender specialists, and food scientists come up with joint metrics for these trade-offs? And the third one is that so many SOPs were developed in RTBfoods for phenotyping different traits. Are users permitted to modify some of them in order to make it work for their specific products and environments? Actually, there were a lot of discussions on question 1. And at the end of the day, we recommended that for this question, since we already have traits that were developed in WP1 and WP2, the question is, how can we synthesize the findings from WP1 to WP2? So our answer and recommendation is that key priority traits for each of the products should be identified and prioritized. That is, we don't have to give all the traits for a particular product. We should look at the key priority traits for each of those products. And the next question is that, who is responsible for synthesizing the findings? So we discussed that the product champions should integrate these key priority traits and synthesize them and then pass them to partners. We also discussed, we mentioned the issue of PPID, that in that PPID meeting, the breeders will be there, the gender specialists will be there, the food technologists will be there, and in this meeting, we can pass it. And so from WP1, it can be passed to WP2. The type of biochemical analysis that will be done will be discussed. Here also, we talked about, are there any relationships between the traits identified in WP1 and what can be done in WP2? The answer was yes. For instance, Alexander said color of the product was seen in WP1, and we see that in WP2, we can analyze the color of the product. So we also concluded that the framework, that we should discuss the framework to rank the traits and highlight the top 2 or 3 traits and pass it on to the breeders. On the second question of having a trade-off between accuracy and speed, that how can we as a group come up with joint metrics for this trade-off? Actually, this generated a lot of discussion. And one of the questions that was asked was that, at what stage do breeders really need that result? That since the impression we have and what the objective of the RTBfoods project is about is that at the early stage of the breeding, that is when they need the results. For instance, reference was made of, is it at the UYT or is it at the AYT? And then we concluded, well, the house concluded or recommended that if it is at the UYT, the very early stage, that rudimental methods can be used. And when it is getting to the final breeding stage, that high throughput methods should be used in order to identify, to analyze those traits. This will help us to synergize. And then we said that this HTP will act as a unifying force. That will be the synergy between the accuracy that the food technologists need and the speed that the breeders are requesting for. Then the last question was on SOPs. That can the SOP that have been developed in RTBfoods be modified in order to make it work for their specific food products and environment? The answer was yes, but that the modification, since SOP are standard operating procedures, it is assumed that it aligned with normal standard procedures that have been recognized over the years. But if there's any modification, the modification as it's being done generally, especially when you are reporting in a journal article or anything, the modification that is going to be carried out, we believe that at times for your product, there may be some peculiarity. And so there may be some modification that you have to do. But that this modification that you are doing must be stated, that it should be stated. And also, the question was raised about how to determine stretchability in dairy products. And here we talked about, we agreed, or we had copious discussions, and the conclusion generally was that, well, concerning stretchability in dairy products, we said, okay, we could use RVA. We used pounded yam as an example, just an example. I'm just citing it as an example, that maybe we could test the RVA of we could look for proof of concept, maybe fresh paste, starch, or the flour. And then we also discuss about the rheometer. But the caveat here in this rheometer is that rheometer is not a high throughput method. So the challenge for the group is that in period 4, we will work on the proof of concept on how to determine stretchability or how to evaluate stretchability in period 4. Thank you very much. We had very interactive discussions. This is just the summary of what we discussed. I don't know if any member, if there is anything I've left out, please, any of our members can please add. Thank you very much. Hello? Hello?
Thank you, Bolanle.
Okay.
Okay. Ismail, do you want to add something?
No, I was just going to say that she summarized everything very well, and I think we are all in agreement with what was presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to both of you for this facilitation. Who was the note taker in your group?
Michael Adeshoku.
Michael Adeshoku.
Okay, so please, Michael, let's get in touch. Thank you to the three of you. Just to conclude before we are running late, as you can see on the screen, there's a really crucial tool that we are expecting from the product champions. It's the organization of these product profile inclusive discussions. These PPIDs, some of you already started to organize last year, but in period 4 and 5, we definitely are looking forward to these events where all work packages and all teams, all institutes working on the same product profiles have to be invited, have to participate, so that it increased the share of knowledge, it increased the share of our protocols that we are developing in certain institutes, and also the share of ideas as well. So please, product champions, we are definitely counting on you. So you are the product champions of your product. So we really expect you to organize the discussions. And if you have already had one of these meetings yet last year, it does not mean it shouldn't happen this year, because knowledge is produced all throughout the year, and protocols have been developed but have not been shared yet. So these PPIDs are really key, and these are the arenas where this type of knowledge can be shared across centers, across work packages. I think it was my last word for this session on cross work packages and cross product profiles interactions. We do not have time, unfortunately, for questions, but if you have questions, you can go again on the online Q&A forum and ask questions to each of the group of the participants and moderators. I'm now giving the floor directly to the advisory board for the final recommendations. I don't know who's presenting on behalf of the advisory board.
Eglantine, they choose me, Hans, to do that.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Please. Yes, you can share your screen.
So I share my video.
J'ai fait une faute.
And I start for the time reasons, because I have a new appointment at 5:30, so I can better speed up. First, some congratulations to the organization. Eglantine and colleagues did a perfect job in organizing this meeting with people essentially all over the world. And you did very well. Thanks for that. And the second one is that if you start with the recommendations, we did that by work package, and I would like to start with work package 1. And work package 1 also deserves congratulations, because they did a perfect job in identification and description of the main and the key traits in all those products. And that is a very solid basis to make progress in the project and even beyond this project.
Sorry, Hans, are you sharing your screen?
I'm not sharing the screen. I do it in words and not in a presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Recommendations for work package 1 and challenges. The key challenge, and it has been discussed already a few times the last half hour, is the creation of quantitative product profiles and their use and integration in the other work packages, inbreeding, and in particular at work package 5, where they bring the traits under attention of the users and end users. But it's an integrated project and process that need to be supported by all the work packages. And there is it's a huge challenge. I gave yesterday some advices, and you can always count on me for further advices. So feel welcome. We have discussed and there were questions how to accomplish this goal. And we believe as an advisory board that consumer preference mapping and development of methodology in that area would be very beneficial to make quantitative product profiles with traits and their expression levels. And that may not be feasible in this project anymore, but can be considered as a logical follow-up. There is, of course, different segments. There is gender issues, but product profiles can, in principle, cover all those requirements, all those needs. And that is a new look at profiles and their use. I would like to move to work package 2 now. And there we observe that sensorial QDA type activities are nicely on track and that they deliver very valuable information. There is a lot on the plate and there's a lot of SOPs to be developed or in development. And we have a clear recommendation there. And it was already a sort of also emphasized by Bonan just a moment ago. There is a clear need for focus. Stick to the traits that are defined by work package 1. And the very nice overview on the boiled products by Thierry show that color, starch, cell walls, and texture are the key traits to work on. And so focus on those and don't waste too much time on alternative steps that are not a priority. And because you have to focus to reach your targets. And it's, we repeat it again, and this is not the first time, please focus on those targets and develop efficient traits at high throughput for those key traits identified by work package 1. Then we can make the step to work package 3. And there we also have some good advices, I hope. And the first advice is, please, if you do any measurement with a reference protocol, wet chemistry, texture analysis, please always take spectra in connection to that. And if you take spectra from those samples, do that in a representative way that you cover the variance of your samples by spectral information and that you can associate spectra to sensorial traits. There is a very high opportunity developing NIRS calibrations for sensory data straight away. And they are very effective. And I can tell you, we have examples that they are indeed very effective and that they are very useful. And it prevents you from a lot of hassle in other sample preparations because you can go straight from spectra to sensorial traits. And at the same time, we have observed that there are still many spectra collected on prepared foods. We have a clear recommendation. Please stop on taking spectra on processed food. Go to raw and predict the traits from raw spectra. It's much more efficient. You don't lose enormous time in sample preparation, and you have much better instruments to do measurements on prepared foods than taking a spectra and predict those measurements. So, a clear recommendation, go for raw spectra. Another one is validation and merging of data sets. Yeah, you can take a lot of information from other spectra, raw spectra from different product profiles for the same crop, and you can even dream of using calibrations on dry matter and other traits over crops. Take that as a challenge and develop those consolidated, merged data sets that give you synergy and much more speed and critical mass. And then the last one in this work packages, there is quite some suggestions to use artificial intelligence and deep learning. we as an advisory board believe that if you cannot see the information from the current methods with infrared analysis using PLS and let's say well-developed methods, then there's probably no additional value in spending a lot of time in deep learning and artificial intelligence, because information that is not in spectra cannot be obtained from those spectra. And so stick to the proven methods is the recommendation from our side. Then I would like to give some recommendations for work package 4 and 5. We feel as a board that there is a lot of expectations coming from the breeding teams and work package 5 teams as regarding to the application of high throughput tools for screenings of traits. And probably are those expectations not fully realistic. The project probably needs a period of about 5 years to deliver those tools, because there is a trajectory for development of tools, their upscaling and their validation. And probably it's realistic that the tools start to arrive at the end of this project. It's also a matter of communication of the expectations. So we clearly advise the other work packages involved in the development of those tools to have clear communication lines about those expectations, that you are all on the same page with respect to what can be expected and by which timelines. What the role for work package 4 and 5 at this moment, we believe, is that you could probably play a bigger role in providing the right samples in the right ranges and the right qualities to the other work packages, especially 2 and 3, to speed up the development of robust protocols and calibrations that in the end would assist you in your selection processes. There is a lot of challenges ahead, and most of those challenges should be addressed by close collaboration between all work packages. And we, as an advisory board, wish you all good luck in that. And of course, we are available to assist you where needed and where applicable. Thanks for an excellent year of results, and thanks for all those presentations. You did very well, and I hope you all have a very fruitful year in period 4. And I hope to meet you in about a small year from now in a new review, and in between if you feel that you need me for further discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Hans. I think we have some questions before you leave, because you have another meeting, but we have 10 minutes question for all the advisory board. Thank you very much for this recommendation. We take notes and we will try to apply it for the next period. If you want to ask some question to the advisory board, is the moment. Please raise your hand and we will give you the floor. Nobody, no question?
There's a question for me.
Okay. I don't see your hand. Halamu.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much, the Board of Trustees, for this valuable advice. I want to ask, especially Hans, what do you see or what do you advise us about HSI application in RTBfood project?
I missed a part of your question, Emmanuel. Could you repeat it?
Yeah, what I'm saying is application of high spectra imaging analysis application in RTBfoods. What can you advise us, and what sort of help do you think you can render? We discussed in the Q&A forum a little bit, but in your summary of advice given to us, you didn't mention it specifically. So that's why I'm asking that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good question. We have hyperspectral experiences. For us, hyperspectral imaging of certain traits is the biggest contribution to selection, especially in those crops where dry matter distribution plays an important role in the quality and in the processing quality. And I have the clear recommendation that you should upscale cross-sectional scannings in all those root crops, and probably also all 5 RTB crops, and get an image analysis, hyperspectral image analysis software operational that is giving you possibilities to quantify those traits at the typical positions in the tube that you would like to have data from. And you would see probably that in most of the crops, potato, sweet potato, yam, and cassave, the distribution patterns tell you a lot about the processability and quality traits of those crops. And it's a very fast way because you don't have to do sampling anymore, like you often do when you go to assays on subparts of those tissues. And to give you an example, we run with our hyperspectral camera about 30,000 samples a year.
Thank you, Hans. There is a question from Aurélie Bischoff on the sensory panel related to the scan of the raw roots. Aurélie.
Oh, hello, Hans. This is Aurélie. So I'm from NRI. I work with Laura. I've been involved in the project quite recently. So I wanted to understand a little bit, how do you link the different, the sensory testing with the physical chemical characteristics when you talk about using raw material, because the raw material cannot be eaten. So how do you overcome that? And I mean, it's all about the challenge of processing and linkages between the different aspects. So sensory processing, hedonic testing, and physical chemical characteristics.
The linking near spectra to sensorial data is as simple as, and it's not really simple, is taking spectra from raw tissues. In some cases, we go to freeze-dried raw tissues, and then indeed just link them straight to sensorial profiles and scores obtained by a trained panel for the attributes. And then you will notice very high correlations, associations between raw spectra, spectra of raw material, and the sensorial traits after a certain preparation method, like frying, cooking, steaming, or meshing.
So you have not. So it's the correlation. So you're linking raw product analyzed by NIRS, for instance, to processed product analyzed by sensory evaluation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this works in any kind of processing, because if you work with simple processes, things like maybe boiling, that might be the case. But if you work with more complex processing, is it still, like, for instance, gari making, would this still work?
We see it for steaming, cooking, and for frying.
Okay.
In my crop.
Okay. Thank you. I have a question for Deborah, because you are talking about the link between raw package 1 and the other raw package, and you say that raw package 1 need to be supported by all the raw package. Deborah.
Yes, I think that the work package 1, as Hans has said, and we all felt on the advisory board, has done a really good job and has presented this methodology, but that it wasn't clear to what extent the members in the other work packages were fully aware of what had been completed and knew how to use that information. So something that helps the groups continue that conversation over the next 2 years would be really helpful. And I don't have any particular suggestion right now, but I think that there are ways that the project could facilitate that.
Okay, thank you. Raise your hand if you want to discuss with the board. I have one question for Pierre. Pierre, you were saying yesterday that MIRS is not universal and maybe it will be very difficult to predict some textural traits. Can we have more guidance on that? Because we were all thinking that we will predict texture of the product.
Yeah, looking at the data I got, the different databases I have the opportunity to look this week, that's sure that textual parameters are quite difficult to measure. It seems that all the correlation are very weak, almost. There is some data from Thomas about RVE, which are intermediate and perhaps promising, but many of them are not good enough. That's the problem. So that's my hope. My hope is to get more sensory data, and as Hans said, to jump these intermediate determination and go directly to sensory and have something. We did also some work during my career about sensory analysis, especially in wine by FTIR, and we got something. And that's perhaps an hope to get this. But as Hans mentioned, that's to get access to the samples, and it's difficult to make 100 of samples by sensory analysis. But if we can group the sensory and standardize enough to have the same data from different center, we can do something, I think. At least it was to try. I don't know if I answer your question, Dominique.
Yes. For the other work package 4, we were telling that the breeding team need to select very key and right sample to provide to work package 2 and work package 3. And maybe we need to work more about this proof of concept. We don't have talked much about parietal compounds and starch, role of parietal compound and starch in the physicochemical property of the product, but maybe we need to try to, with the breeder, to select a set of clone for this kind of analysis. We develop pectin measurement now, but are we in the good way to find something? Maybe Hans have this experience for potato about the parietal compounds and the pectin methylation and the composition of pectin.
Dominique, I can give my final answer because I take this also an opportunity to say goodbye to all of you because I have to leave for another meeting. I can tell you that in potato we have not only the proof principle, but an extensive data set where the relationship exists between monomeric composition of isolated cell walls and FTIR spectra of those isolated cell walls with all texture traits in potato at this moment. And then there is a huge genetic variance of cell wall composition in total content and in relative fractions of all the different monomeric sugars and their relationship to texture of steamed and fried potatoes. And so I believe that all attention you give to cell wall composition of those RTB crops, that you will find similar relationships in most crops that you study. And the first indications of your activities in that field suggest that there's value in cell wall composition, monomeric, pectins, etc.
Thank you, Hans. Maybe Bruce, you want to add some words from the advisory committee?
Yeah, I say now goodbye to everybody, and I'm leaving. So it's not because.
Thank you very much for your contribution. You were on all the presentation and all the QDA, and your contribution is really great. Thank you very much.
And I will forward what I told you in words as a file.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Bruce, do you have some word from the advisory committee?
Dominique, Bruce left already.
Bruce left. Julie?
Hi, everyone. No, I'm really happy to speak to you today. It was not evident because I'm coming from holidays, but I'm really happy to participate to the session we have with the committee today. So I'm very happy, and thanks for the job you have done.
Thank you for your time. Claire, do you have some words from the advisory committee?
Thank you, Dominique, for the invitation to be part of this committee. I've appreciated the opportunity, a lot of learning on my part again this year. One point that we discussed didn't come out in Hans's presentation here was the benefits of especially work package 1 linking more to the excellence in breeding platform of CGIR and their efforts to develop standards for product profiles. And Hans, in fact, agreed that he would sort of be a linkage and make contact with the excellence in breeding platform to pursue some of that collaboration. So thanks again to everybody. I've enjoyed this year's annual review again.
Thank you very much. I think it's time to close this session and to ask Jim to give some recommendation also from the Gate Foundation before closing the session. Jim, you are there?
Yes, I'm here, Dominique. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, Dominique and Eglantine, thanks for organizing a very complex but good meeting. I think it went very well, given that it's a remote meeting. And also thanks to the PMU and all the team for all the work that was done in this difficult year of COVID. I think to see the progress was really encouraging. We understand the challenges everybody faced and really appreciate it. Just a few things that I would like to say. First of all, the time is relatively short as you're in your last 2 years. And so what you heard from the advisory committee on the need to prioritize and focus and really look at those key traits identified by work package 1 is advice that we would also back up. But coming to that point of time, we think that with CG reform, the one CGIR, that although RTBfoods may not continue as a discrete project, we hope that all the collaborations initiated during RTBfoods would continue into the next phase of 1CG and the partnerships with NARS, that companies have already moved to having breeding be very much a multiple disciplinary activity. Not just the traditional disciplines of pathology and agronomy, et cetera, but the need to bring in many disciplines, including the social science to get product profiles right, the food science and technology to to be able to deliver that, big data tools, different types of engineering and optimizing specialists, that the breeding is much bigger than breeders. And we really hope that that vision is captured by the EIB, which we think it is being captured, and that the future is bright, and that the change will encourage more donors to maybe be more confident in the CG, and that strengthening of the CG will lead to strengthening of finances. So very few comments. I appreciate all that's been done. In some cases, it's time to move beyond the old traits to those traits identified by work package 1. And thank you, Bela, for the encouragement to not only be aware of gender, but to seek more engagement with producers and end users, and let more voices be engaged in the process, because the breeding process certainly needs more voices and more equitable distribution of voices. And so breeders need to learn to be good listeners and people who bring in and engage, as well as who know and push and dictate. So thank you all. This is really a key project for the success of RTB breeding. And I encourage you in the year to come, and I thank you for all that you have done. So thank you, Dominique, and thank you, team.
Thank you, Jim. I think we don't have time for more questions. I will ask you to put on your camera for a big clap for Cathy, Eglantine, Pascal, who organize all the meeting. Please put your camera on. Eglantine, Cathy, you are there? Thank you very much. A big clap. And see you soon. We hope to see you soon, but face to face at this time. We hope that is the last virtual meeting for the RTB Food project. Cross fingers.
Thank you, PMU. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Dominique. Thank you, everybody. We miss the physical interaction.
Inshallah.
Love you all.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Well done.
Thanks so much.
We were
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, Dominique. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Eglantine.
Bye. We miss the physical meetings, but we have to next year.
Yes, Richard.
Yes, we hope so.
Yes, we hope so.
Yeah, this COVID situation.
Thank you very much to all.
All right.
Bye, Noel.
Pascal, Eglantine.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes, everyone. I'm just wrapping up, and I'll be setting off in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Good enough.
Salut les filles, bye bye.
Bye,
Salut, Didier.
Salut Didier.
Bye tout le monde. Au revoir, merci à vous.
Bye bye,
Merci
Noël.
pour tout.
Salut,
Bye bye, bye
Fabrice.
bye.
Merci.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye. Bye.
Au revoir,
Bye, Cathy.
Noël. Merci.
On reçoit un lien particulier
Bye,
pour demain.
Oui, sur ton agenda.
Eglantine, formidable. Ça s'est bien passé, Eglantine.
C'est le moment du bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye, à demain. Bye bye. Hein?
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Au revoir, Gérard.
Merci,
Bye,
Eglantine.
everybody. Bye bye.
Bye-bye, Eglantine.
Can you
Un gros coucou à Eglantine, à Cathy, à Pascal. Vous aviez été superbes, les filles. Félicitations.
Super, super. Ouais,
Merci, Gérard.
Ah, super.
Merci, Gérard.
Bye bye tout le monde.
Ça, c'est bien. Manager ça. Oh là là.
Formidable.
Hein?
Bye-bye, Eglantine. Eglantine.
Bye.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
Sylvie.
Yeah, bye.
Take
Merci,
care.
Vera.